Expert logo Historias de Mafia. I'm checking the perimeter cameras, the feed flickering across my tablet, when the murmur of the party downstairs suddenly dips. It's a subtle shift, barely noticeable, but my skin prickles. The air in this isolated mansion, usually thick with expensive perfume and hushed power, now feels charged, like static before a storm. I see him, the boss, a silhouette against the floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to the room, a glass of amber liquid held loosely in his hand. Then, a flash of white apron. A young woman, new here, I think, approaches him from behind. Her hand brushes his arm, a gesture so fleeting it could be accidental, but her lips move, a whisper I can't hear, yet I feel its impact like a physical blow. His shoulders tense, a tremor running through his imposing frame. He turns, his eyes scanning the room, and for a split second they lock with mine. A cold, predatory gaze that promises swift retribution for any perceived transgression. My heart pounds against my ribs, a frantic drum against the silence, as I realize I've seen something I shouldn't have, something that could unravel everything. The hum of the mansion's sophisticated security system is usually a comforting backdrop to my work, a testament to my own meticulous design and installation. Tonight, however, it feels like a low, constant thrum of anxiety, vibrating through the very floorboards beneath my feet as I try to appear nonchalant, my eyes fixed on the array of monitors displaying various angles of the opulent gathering. I'm just the tech guy, the invisible hand ensuring the digital fortress holds, but in this world, no one is truly invisible, especially when the boss is in the room. Every polished surface, every expensive artwork, every hushed conversation seems to reflect the immense power he wields, a power that feels both intoxicating and terrifyingly fragile in the face of an unknown threat. My role is to observe, to anticipate, to prevent, but what I just witnessed feels beyond the scope of any protocol. My gaze drifts back to the boss, now engaged in a conversation with a man in a perfectly tailored suit, his face a mask of practiced deference. The boss, a man whose reputation precedes him like a chilling wind, exudes an aura of unshakable control, yet that fleeting moment of tension, that almost imperceptible flinch, lingers in my mind like a discordant note in a symphony. I try to rationalize it, to dismiss it as a trick of the light, a momentary lapse in my own focus, but the image of the waitress, her face pale and her eyes wide with a fear that mirrored my own, refuses to dissipate. She's just a server, a cog in the elaborate machinery of this evening, but her whisper carried a weight that felt heavier than any spoken threat. The party continues its carefully choreographed dance, a ballet of power and pretense. Guests mingle, their laughter echoing a little too loudly in the cavernous halls, their smiles not quite reaching their eyes. I've seen enough of these gatherings to recognize the underlying currents of ambition and fear that flow beneath the surface. Everyone here is playing a part, vying for position, or simply trying to survive. My own position is precarious. I'm an outsider, a hired hand, privy to the inner workings of their world, but never truly a part of it. This detachment is usually my shield, my professional armor, but tonight it feels like a thin veil, easily torn. I discreetly adjust a camera angle, pretending to troubleshoot a minor glitch, my fingers moving with practiced ease across the touchscreen. My peripheral vision, however, is locked onto the waitress. She's moving through the crowd with a tray of champagne flutes, her movements stiff, almost robotic. Her eyes dart around the room, betraying a deep unease that she struggles to conceal. It's not the usual nervousness of someone serving powerful people. It's something far more profound, a terror that seems to emanate from her very core. I wonder what she whispered. What words could possibly have such a devastating effect on a man who commands such absolute authority? A security guard, one of the boss's inner circle, a man whose silent presence is a constant reminder of the ever-present danger passes by my station. His eyes, dark and unreadable, sweep over me, a silent assessment that makes my breath catch in my throat. I offer a small, professional nod, a gesture of acknowledgement that I am merely performing my duties, nothing more. He doesn't return the gesture, his face remaining impassive, his gaze moving on, leaving behind a lingering chill. These men are shadows, extensions of the boss's will, and their vigilance is absolute. Any deviation, any perceived curiosity, could be met with swift and brutal consequences. The thought of what could happen if my curiosity were discovered sends a shiver down my spine. I've heard stories, whispers of what happens to those who cross the boss, or even those who simply see too much. This isn't a world of second chances or polite warnings. It's a world where mistakes are paid for in ways that leave no trace, only lingering questions and sudden disappearances. My professional ethics dictate that I report any unusual activity, but the line between unusual and dangerous is blurred in this environment, and I'm acutely aware that reporting the waitress's whisper could put me in a far more perilous position than simply ignoring it. I try to refocus on my task, on the intricate network of cameras and sensors that are my domain. The mansion is a marvel of modern architecture and technology, a fortress disguised as a luxury home. Every entrance, every corridor, every shadow is monitored. Yet, the true threats often come from within, from the cracks in loyalty, the whispers of betrayal. The boss understands this better than anyone, which is why his paranoia is legendary, his vigilance absolute. He trusts no one completely, and that distrust is a weapon he wields with devastating precision. My mind races, trying to piece together the fragments of information. The waitress, the boss's reaction, the palpable shift in the atmosphere. Is it a personal matter, a secret revealed? Or is it something larger, something that threatens the very foundations of his empire? The stakes are impossibly high, and I, an unwitting observer, feel myself being drawn into a vortex of danger that I have no business being a part of. My hands, usually steady and precise, tremble slightly as I adjust a setting on my tablet, a small tremor that betrays the fear coiling in my gut. The opulent surroundings, the soft jazz music playing in the background, the clinking of glasses, it all feels like a thin veneer over a simmering volcano. I catch a glimpse of the boss's right-hand man, a man known for his cold efficiency and unwavering loyalty, his eyes constantly scanning the room, assessing, evaluating. He's a predator in human form, and his presence alone is enough to instill a sense of dread. He hasn't noticed anything, or at least he shows no outward sign of it, but I know better than to trust appearances in this world. Everyone here is a master of deception. I consider my options, limited as they are. I could try to get closer to the waitress, to understand what she said, but that would be an act of overt curiosity, a risk I'm not sure I'm willing to take. I could try to analyze the boss's behavior more closely, but his poker face is legendary. The most prudent course of action would be to do nothing, to pretend I saw nothing, heard nothing, and simply continue with my work. But the image of her terrified eyes, the urgency of her whisper, gnaws at me. A persistent itch I can't scratch. The mansion's interior is a study in contrasts. Sleek, minimalist design juxtaposed with heavy, antique furniture. Modern art alongside classical sculptures. It's a reflection of the man who owns it, a blend of old-world power and new-age ruthlessness. The lighting is intentionally dim, casting long, dramatic shadows that play tricks on the eyes, adding to the pervasive sense of unease. It's an environment designed to impress, to intimidate, and to conceal. And tonight, it feels like it's concealing a secret that could shatter everything. My own routine, usually a source of comfort and predictability, feels utterly disrupted. I'm supposed to be monitoring the external threats, the digital incursions, the physical breaches. Instead, I'm caught in an internal drama, a human element that no firewall or motion sensor can detect. The irony is not lost on me. I've built a fortress, but the real danger has slipped past all my defenses, carried on the breath of a terrified young woman. The vulnerability of this situation is staggering, and it makes me question the very nature of security itself. The boss moves through the room, a gravitational force around which all others orbit. He shakes hands, exchanges brief, meaningful words, his presence commanding absolute attention. No one dares to challenge him. No one dares to question his authority. He is the undisputed king of this domain, and his word is law. Yet, the waitress's whisper, a tiny, almost inaudible sound, has managed to pierce that impenetrable facade, revealing a glimpse of something raw and vulnerable beneath the polished exterior. It's a crack in the armor, and I'm afraid of what might pour out. I find myself replaying the scene in my mind, searching for any detail I might have missed. The angle of her head, the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers briefly tightened on the tray she carried. Every micro-expression, every subtle movement, now seems imbued with a deeper meaning. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash, knowing the impact is inevitable, but powerless to stop it. The weight of this unspoken knowledge presses down on me, a heavy burden that threatens to suffocate me. The party shows no outward signs of distress. The music swells. The conversations resume their hushed intensity. The clinking of glasses continues. It's a testament to the guests' ability to maintain composure, to project an image of normalcy even when the ground beneath their feet is shifting. Or perhaps they are simply unaware, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding before their very eyes. I envy their ignorance, their ability to remain detached from the undercurrents of danger that now consume my thoughts. My heart continues its frantic rhythm, a constant reminder of the precariousness of my situation. I am a witness, an accidental observer, and in this world, witnesses are often silenced. The thought sends a cold wave of fear through me, a primal instinct for self-preservation that urges me to flee, to disappear, to erase myself from this dangerous equation. But I am trapped, bound by my professional obligations and, more importantly, by the chilling realization that I am now a part of this unfolding narrative, whether I want to be or not. The night deepens, and with it, the tension in the mansion thickens, becoming almost palpable, a suffocating blanket that seems to press down on every soul present. I continue my surveillance, my eyes scanning the monitors, but my mind is a whirlwind of speculation, each theory more terrifying than the last. The waitress has vanished from my sight, swallowed by the crowd or perhaps by something far more sinister. Her absence is a gaping hole in the carefully constructed facade of the evening, a silent alarm bell that rings only in my ears, a constant reminder of the whispered words that have irrevocably altered the atmosphere. I try to catch the eye of one of the other staff members, a seasoned caterer who has worked these events for years, hoping to glean some insight, some confirmation of the unease I feel. But their faces are impassive, their movements efficient, their gazes carefully averted. They are professionals, trained to see nothing, hear nothing, and speak nothing. Their silence is a testament to the pervasive culture of fear that permeates this world, a fear that has been ingrained through years of unspoken threats and brutal examples. It's a silence that screams volumes, a chilling confirmation of the danger that lurks beneath the surface. My internal monologue is a frantic debate between self-preservation and a burgeoning sense of moral obligation. Do I simply ignore what I saw, pretend it never happened, and hope that ignorance will be my shield? Or do I try to understand, to uncover the truth, knowing that such an endeavor could lead me down a path from which there is no return? The ethical lines I usually operate within, the clear boundaries of my profession, feel blurred and indistinct in the face of this raw, untamed power. I am a technician, not a detective, but the human element of this situation demands a response. The boss, meanwhile, has retreated to a more private corner of the room, his back once again to the General Assembly. He's speaking in low tones with his right-hand man, their heads close together, their expressions grim. The usual air of casual authority has been replaced by a focused intensity, a predatory stillness that sends a fresh wave of apprehension through me. I can't hear their words, but the body language speaks volumes, urgency, concern, and a barely contained fury that promises swift and decisive action. Whatever the waitress whispered, it has clearly struck a nerve, a deep and vulnerable spot. I find myself scrutinizing every guest, every face, searching for any sign of complicity, any hint of who might be the target of the waitress's warning, or perhaps the source of the threat itself. The room is a tapestry of expensive suits and elegant dresses, a collection of powerful individuals who are all, in their own way, players in this dangerous game. Each smile could hide a dagger, each handshake a betrayal. The paranoia that the Gaia visual mafia TXT mentions as a core behavior is now a tangible presence, a heavy weight in the air, infecting everyone, including me. My fingers hover over the security console, 1,000 possibilities flashing through my mind. Could I discreetly access the internal communications? The private network that links the boss's inner circle? The thought is tempting, a desperate attempt to gain some clarity, but the risks are immense. Any unauthorized access would be immediately detected, and the consequences would be catastrophic. I am a ghost in their machine, but even ghosts can be caught and exorcised. The temptation to know, however, is a powerful siren song, pulling me deeper into the murky waters. The image of the waitress's face, etched with a fear that I can still vividly recall, haunts me. She was not just delivering a message. She was delivering a plea, a warning born of desperation. Her courage, or perhaps her sheer terror, was enough to break through the impenetrable wall of silence that surrounds the boss. What could compel someone in her position to take such an enormous risk? The answer, I suspect, is something truly dire, something that threatens not just the boss, but perhaps everyone connected to him, including the innocent bystanders like myself. I try to remember every detail of her appearance, her movements, her interaction with the boss. Was there a subtle signal, a hidden meaning in her gesture, in the way she held herself? My training in observation, usually focused on technical anomalies, is now applied to human behavior, searching for the tells, the micro-expressions that betray true intent. But the memory is fragmented, obscured by the shock of the moment, leaving me with more questions than answers, a frustrating void in my understanding. The atmosphere in the mansion, once merely tense, now feels genuinely dangerous. The low lighting, which usually creates an intimate, sophisticated ambiance, now seems to conceal lurking shadows, potential threats. Every creak of the old house, every distant murmur is amplified, transformed into a potential harbinger of doom. My senses are on high alert, my body coiled, ready to react, though I have no idea what I would react to, or how. This is a different kind of threat, one that cannot be countered by firewalls or alarm systems. I consider the possibility that the waitress herself might be a plant, a double agent, her whisper a calculated move in a larger game. But her fear felt too genuine, too raw, to be an act. It was the fear of someone caught in a trap, someone desperately trying to warn of an impending disaster. This realization only deepens my sense of unease, as it suggests a threat that is both immediate and deeply personal, striking at the very heart of the boss's seemingly impregnable world. My professional detachment, usually my greatest asset, is crumbling under the weight of this unexpected intrusion. I am no longer just an observer. I am a participant, an unwilling player in a drama that I do not understand. The moral dilemma is stark: remain silent and potentially allow a catastrophe to unfold, or act and risk everything, including my own life. The choice feels impossible, each path fraught with its own unique set of dangers and consequences. The boss's security detail, the silent men in dark suits, seem to have intensified their vigilance. Their eyes sweep the room with an almost imperceptible increase in frequency, their hands occasionally brushing against the concealed weapons beneath their jackets. They are a physical manifestation of the paranoia that now grips the mansion, a constant reminder that danger is not just a concept here, but a very real and present force. Their heightened awareness only confirms my worst fears. Something significant is indeed happening. I glance at my reflection in the dark screen of a deactivated monitor, my face pale, my eyes wide with a mixture of fear and morbid fascination. I look like a ghost, a silent witness to a tragedy in the making. The man staring back at me is no longer just the detached tech expert. He is someone caught in the crosshairs, someone whose life has been irrevocably altered by a single, whispered phrase. The realization is chilling, a cold hand gripping my heart. The thought of escaping, of simply walking away from this nightmare, flashes through my mind, a fleeting temptation, but I know it's impossible. Once you've seen something in this world, you're marked. There's no turning back, no erasing the knowledge. My only hope is to navigate this treacherous landscape with extreme caution, to understand enough to protect myself, without becoming a casualty of the unfolding events. It's a tightrope walk over an abyss. The music, once a soothing backdrop, now feels discordant, a jarring contrast to the silent dread that permeates the air. Every note seems to mock the pretense of normalcy, highlighting the artificiality of the entire gathering. I feel like I'm trapped in a dream, a nightmarish tableau where everyone is smiling but no one is truly happy, and a single whispered word has shattered the illusion, revealing the brutal reality beneath. My breath hitches in my throat as I see the waitress again, emerging from a service corridor, her eyes still wide with fear, but now with a flicker of something else: determination. She's carrying a fresh tray of drinks, her movements still stiff, but there's a subtle shift in her demeanor, a quiet resolve that wasn't there before. She glances in my direction, a fleeting, almost imperceptible look, and in that moment, I know she saw me seeing her. We are connected now, two unwitting participants in a dangerous secret, bound by a shared moment of terror and a whispered warning. The air crackles with an unspoken urgency as the night progresses, each passing minute feeling like an eternity, stretching the nerves taut. The waitress, her brief glance in my direction a silent acknowledgement of our shared secret, continues her rounds, but her movements are now imbued with a new, almost desperate purpose. She is no longer just serving, she is observing, searching, her eyes darting through the crowd with a focused intensity that belies her outwardly calm demeanor. I realize with a jolt that she isn't just a messenger, she is an active player, caught in a web far more intricate than I initially imagined, and her actions are now a desperate gamble. My own position feels increasingly exposed, the thin veil of my professional detachment shredded by the weight of what I know. I can feel the eyes of the boss's security detail on me more frequently, their silent assessments becoming more pointed, more suspicious. They are trained to detect anomalies, to sense shifts in the carefully controlled environment, and my heightened awareness, my subtle shifts in focus, are undoubtedly registering on their internal radars. The walls of this mansion, designed to keep threats out, now feel like they are closing in, trapping me within a dangerous game. The boss has moved to the center of the room, his voice now carrying a sharper edge, his gestures more emphatic as he addresses a small group of influential figures. His usual calm facade is cracking, revealing glimpses of the raw power and barely contained fury that lie beneath. He is clearly agitated, his words laced with an unspoken threat, his eyes scanning the faces around him, searching for any sign of dissent or disloyalty. The waitress's whisper has clearly ignited a fire, and the heat of it is now radiating throughout the entire gathering, making everyone uncomfortable. I watch as the right-hand man, his face a stone mask, approaches the boss, whispering something in his ear. The boss's eyes narrow, a dangerous glint appearing in their depths, and he nods almost imperceptibly. A ripple of unease passes through the room, a collective intake of breath as everyone senses the shift in the atmosphere, the unspoken command that has just been given. It's a silent signal, a prelude to action, and my heart pounds against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the impending storm. My gaze is drawn back to the waitress, who is now standing near a secluded exit, her back to the room, her shoulders hunched. She's fumbling with something in her hand, a small, dark object that she tries to conceal within the folds of her apron. My security instincts scream at me. She's either preparing to escape or preparing for something far more drastic. The thought sends a jolt of adrenaline through my veins, a sudden surge of fear and a desperate urge to intervene, to understand, to prevent whatever catastrophe is about to unfold. The moral dilemma that has been gnawing at me intensifies, becoming an unbearable weight. Do I alert the boss's security, betraying the waitress and potentially sealing her fate, but perhaps averting a larger disaster? Or do I remain silent, allowing events to play out, and risk becoming a casualty myself? The lines between right and wrong, between self-preservation and a nascent sense of responsibility, are completely obliterated, leaving me adrift in a sea of impossible choices. A sudden, sharp crack echoes through the mansion, a sound that cuts through the music and the chatter like a knife. It's a sound I recognize from my training, a sound that signifies a breach, a forced entry. The security system, my own creation, has been compromised. The monitors on my console flicker, displaying a rapid succession of alerts. Motion sensors triggered, perimeter fences breached, internal alarms activated. The fortress has been penetrated, and the threat is no longer an abstract concept. It is here, Within these very walls, panic, cold and sharp, grips me. This isn't just a personal drama anymore. It's a full-blown crisis, a direct assault on the boss's domain. The guests, initially confused, now begin to react, their hushed conversations turning into panicked whispers, their carefully constructed composure shattering. The music falters, then dies, plunging the room into a sudden, terrifying silence, broken only by the distant sounds of commotion and the rising tide of fear. The boss, his face now a mask of pure, unadulterated rage, barks orders at his men. His right-hand man, a blur of motion, draws a concealed weapon, his eyes scanning the room with a lethal intensity. The other security guards, their faces grim, move to secure the boss, forming a protective cordon around him. The air is thick with the scent of fear and the metallic tang of impending violence. The party, once a symbol of power and luxury, has devolved into a scene of chaos and terror. My eyes dart back to the waitress, who is now openly clutching the small dark object in her hand. It's a communication device, a small, sophisticated radio. She's speaking into it, her voice low and urgent, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and defiance. She's not just a messenger, she's a conduit, an accomplice, actively participating in the unfolding events. The realization hits me with the force of a physical blow. She was the inside man, the one who facilitated the breach. The betrayal, swift and brutal, reverberates through the room. The boss's eyes, now fixed on the waitress, burn with an inferno of rage. He understands now the meaning of her whisper, the true nature of her warning. It wasn't a warning for him. It was a warning for her accomplices, a signal that the time was right, that the trap was sprung. The realization is sickening, a bitter taste in my mouth, as I understand the depth of her deception. The security guards, alerted by the boss's furious gaze, converge on the waitress, their movements swift and decisive. She doesn't resist, her body going limp, her eyes still fixed on the communication device in her hand, as if clinging to a last vestige of hope. The device is snatched from her grasp, and she is roughly pulled away, disappearing into the chaos, her fate sealed by her own desperate act of defiance. The mansion is now a war zone, the sounds of struggle and shouting echoing through the halls. Guests scream, scrambling for cover, their elegant attire now disheveled, their faces contorted with terror. The illusion of safety, of impenetrable power, has been shattered, replaced by the brutal reality of a world where loyalty is a commodity and betrayal is a weapon. I am a witness to the climax, the moment of greatest risk, and I am utterly powerless to stop it. My own survival instincts kick in, overriding all other thoughts. I need to secure my station, to protect myself, to find a way out of this nightmare. The security system, my creation, is now a battlefield, its sensors and cameras capturing every terrifying detail of the unfolding chaos. I am the eyes and ears of this collapsing empire, and the images flashing across my screens are a horrifying testament to the fragility of power. The boss, his face a mask of grim determination, is now directing his men, his voice a low growl that cuts through the din. He is a man cornered, a wounded lion, but his ferocity remains undiminished. He will fight, he will retaliate, and the consequences for those who betrayed him will be swift and merciless. The thought sends a fresh wave of terror through me, a chilling reminder of the brutal reality of this world. I realize, with a sickening lurch, that I am now implicated. I saw the waitress. I saw her whisper. I saw her communication device. My knowledge makes me a liability, a loose end that needs to be tied up. The paranoia that permeates this world is no longer an abstract concept. It is a very real and immediate threat to my own existence. I am no longer just an observer. I am a target, caught in the crossfire of a war I never asked to join. The mansion, once a symbol of opulence and power, is now a scene of utter devastation. Broken glass, overturned furniture, the lingering scent of gunpowder and fear. The elegance has been stripped away, revealing the brutal reality beneath. I am trapped in this crumbling fortress, a silent witness to its downfall, and the only question that remains is whether I will survive to tell the tale or become another forgotten casualty of this brutal world. The immediate aftermath of the breach is a maelstrom of controlled chaos, a chilling testament to the boss's ability to regain a semblance of order even in the face of utter devastation. The sounds of struggle have subsided, replaced by the hushed, urgent commands of his men and the whimpering of terrified guests being herded into a secure area. The air, still thick with the acrid scent of fear and the metallic tang of violence, now carries an oppressive silence, a heavy blanket that smothers any lingering hope of normalcy. My hands, still trembling, move with a practiced efficiency across my console, trying to assess the full extent of the damage, my mind reeling from the brutal climax I just witnessed. The boss, his face a grim mask of fury and resolve, stands amidst the wreckage, his eyes sweeping over the scene with a cold, calculating intensity. He is a man who has just been betrayed, his empire shaken to its core, but his power remains undeniable, his presence still commanding absolute obedience. His right-hand man, his face a stone mask, whispers updates, his voice low and urgent, while other security personnel move with ruthless efficiency, securing the perimeter, assessing casualties, and, I suspect, searching for any remaining threats or, more ominously, any lingering witnesses. My own survival instincts are screaming at me, urging me to disappear, to become truly invisible. I am still at my station, pretending to be fully engrossed in the technical aspects of the security system, but every nerve ending is on high alert, every muscle coiled. I know that my presence here, my accidental witnessing of the waitress's betrayal, makes me a liability, a loose end that needs to be tied up. In this world, there are no innocent bystanders, only those who are useful and those who are expendable. I desperately need to prove my utility, or risk becoming the latter. The guests, now confined to a lavish ballroom, are a picture of abject terror and confusion. Their expensive clothes are disheveled, their faces pale and streaked with tears or grime. The illusion of their privileged lives has been shattered, replaced by the brutal reality of the world they inhabit, a world where power is fleeting and danger is always lurking just beneath the surface. They are pawns in a game far beyond their comprehension, and their fear is a palpable thing, a collective moan that echoes through the once grand hall. I discreetly review the camera footage, my fingers flying across the touchscreen, searching for any detail that might offer me leverage, any piece of information that could protect me. The images are stark, brutal, capturing the chaos of the breach, the swiftness of the attack, and the cold efficiency of the boss's men. I see the waitress being dragged away, her face a mixture of terror and resignation, her eyes still holding that flicker of defiance. Her fate, I know, is sealed, a grim reminder of the consequences of betrayal in this unforgiving world. The boss's right-hand man approaches my station, his footsteps silent on the plush carpet. My heart leaps into my throat, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I force myself to remain calm, to project an air of professional competence, my eyes fixed on the flickering monitors. He stops beside me, his presence a heavy weight, his gaze a physical pressure. I can feel his scrutiny, his silent assessment, and I know that my life hangs in the balance, dependent on his judgment, on whether he perceives me as a threat or an asset. "Status report," he says, his voice low and devoid of emotion, a chilling contrast to the chaos that just unfolded. I respond with a detailed technical assessment of the system's breach points, the extent of the damage, and the current status of the perimeter. My voice is steady, professional, betraying none of the terror that is coiling in my gut. I focus on the facts, on the data, on the objective reality of the situation, hoping that my competence will be my shield. He listens impassively, his eyes never leaving my face, searching for any tell, any sign of deception. I meet his gaze, my own eyes conveying a mixture of professional concern and unwavering loyalty, a carefully constructed facade. I emphasize the sophistication of the attack, the cunning of the infiltrators, subtly deflecting any blame from my own system and, by extension, from myself. It's a delicate dance, a high-stakes performance, and the slightest misstep could be fatal. He nods slowly, a barely perceptible movement that sends a wave of relief, quickly followed by a fresh surge of apprehension, through me. "You did your job," he says, his voice still flat, but with a hint of something else, something that could be approval, or simply a temporary reprieve. But you saw too much. The words hang in the air, a chilling pronouncement that confirms my worst fears. My knowledge is indeed a liability, and my fate is still very much uncertain. My mind races, trying to formulate a response, a plea, a justification. But I know that words are meaningless in this world. Actions, loyalty, and utility are the only currencies that matter. I need to prove my worth, to demonstrate that my knowledge is an asset, not a threat. I need to offer something, some insight, some solution, that will make me indispensable, at least for now. My survival depends on it. I can analyze the attack vectors, trace their digital footprints, I offer, my voice firm, my eyes meeting his with a newfound resolve. I can help you understand how they got in, who they are. My systems recorded everything. Every breach, every movement, every communication attempt. I can give you answers. It's a gamble, a desperate attempt to turn my liability into an asset, to transform my role from witness to indispensable expert. He considers my offer, his eyes still fixed on me, a silent battle of wills playing out between us. The seconds stretch into an eternity, each one laden with the weight of my uncertain future. I can feel the cold sweat trickling down my back, the frantic pounding of my heart against my ribs. This is the moment of truth, the point of no return, where my fate will be decided, not by my skills, but by his assessment of my loyalty and my potential value. Finally, he nods again, a more decisive movement this time. "Do it," he commands, his voice still low, but with a new edge of urgency. "Find them. And if you try anything at all, you will regret it. Understand?" His gaze is a promise of brutal retribution, a chilling reminder of the power he wields. I nod, my throat tight, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken threat. I am now officially embroiled, a full participant in this dangerous game. The aftermath of the attack is a stark reminder of the fragility of power and the brutal reality of this world. The opulent mansion, once a symbol of impregnable authority, now bears the scars of battle, its polished surfaces marred, its elegant decor shattered. The air is heavy with the lingering scent of smoke and fear, a constant reminder of the violence that just unfolded. The illusion of safety has been irrevocably shattered, replaced by a pervasive sense of vulnerability. I turn back to my console, my fingers flying across the keyboard, my mind now fully engaged in the task at hand. The fear is still there, a cold knot in my stomach, but it is now tempered by a fierce determination. I will find the answers, not just for them, but for myself. I will use my skills, my knowledge, to navigate this treacherous landscape, to understand the forces at play, and to hopefully find a path to survival. My life depends on it. The image of the waitress, her face a mixture of terror and defiance, flashes through my mind. She was a pawn, a desperate soul caught in a larger game, but her actions, her whisper, set in motion a chain of events that has irrevocably altered everything. I wonder about her fate, about the consequences of her betrayal, and a cold shiver runs down my spine. Her story is a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the price of defiance in this brutal world. The night stretches before me, long and uncertain, filled with the promise of danger and the desperate search for answers. The mansion, once a symbol of luxury and power, is now a cage, a battleground, and I am trapped within its walls, an unwilling participant in a war I never asked to join. My only hope is to use my mind, my skills, to outwit the predators, to navigate the treacherous currents, and to, somehow, emerge from this nightmare alive. The silence in the mansion is now a heavy, oppressive thing, broken only by the distant sounds of cleanup and the hushed commands of the boss's men. It's a silence that speaks volumes, a chilling testament to the power of fear and the brutal efficiency of retribution. I am alone at my console, surrounded by the flickering screens, the silent witnesses to a night that has irrevocably altered my life and the lives of everyone within these walls. The cold glow of the monitors is my only companion now, a stark contrast to the opulent, yet now scarred mansion around me. The party guests are long gone, whisked away to their own safe havens, leaving behind a silence that is heavier than any noise. My fingers fly across the keyboard, a blur of motion driven by a desperate need to survive, to prove my worth, to outrun the chilling promise of retribution that hangs in the air. The right-hand man's words echo in my mind, a constant reminder of the razor's edge I now walk, where competence is my only shield against a brutal end. I delve into the system logs, a digital archaeologist sifting through the debris of a shattered illusion. Every packet, every connection, every failed authentication attempt is a breadcrumb leading me deeper into the rabbit hole. The infiltrators were good, exceptionally good, but not perfect. They left traces, faint digital whispers that only a trained eye, or perhaps a terrified one, could discern. My expertise, once a source of quiet pride, is now a desperate tool for self-preservation. I feel a strange mix of fear and exhilaration, the thrill of the chase mingling with the cold dread of what I might uncover, knowing that each discovery could either save me or condemn me further. The pressure is immense, a suffocating weight that pushes me to the very limits of my capabilities. I isolate the initial breach point, a cleverly disguised zero-day exploit targeting a specific vulnerability in the mansion's external network. It wasn't a brute force attack. It was surgical, precise, indicating a level of sophistication that speaks volumes about the resources and expertise of the opposing force. This isn't some petty rival. This is a well-funded, highly organized operation, a realization that sends a fresh wave of unease through me. The stakes are far higher than I initially imagined, extending beyond the immediate chaos of the night into a deeper, more dangerous conflict. The waitress's role becomes clearer as I cross-reference her movements with the timing of the digital intrusion. She wasn't just a messenger. She was the physical key, the human element that synchronized the external attack with an internal disruption. Her communication device, now confiscated, was likely a secure channel, a direct link to the orchestrators of this elaborate plan. Her courage, or perhaps her desperation, now seems less like a lone act of defiance and more like a carefully executed maneuver in a much larger, more dangerous game. I find a series of encrypted messages, brief and coded, exchanged between an unknown external IP address and a burner phone activated within the mansion's guest network. The timing aligns perfectly with the waitress's whispered warning. It wasn't "it's too late" for the boss. It was "it's too late" for them to stop the attack. A final confirmation that the operation was a go. The chilling realization dawns on me. She was signaling the start, not the end, of the assault. Her words, once a mystery, now reveal a terrifying clarity. My gaze drifts to the live camera feeds, the silent men in dark suits methodically sweeping the mansion, their movements precise and efficient. They are searching for anything out of place, any lingering threat, any sign of the infiltrators who managed to breach this supposedly impenetrable fortress. I know they will find nothing. The attackers were too professional, too disciplined. They came, they struck, and they vanished, leaving behind only chaos and a profound sense of vulnerability. The boss's paranoia, once a character trait, now feels like a justified response to a world teeming with unseen enemies. He trusts no one, and for good reason. The betrayal came from within, from a seemingly innocuous figure, a waitress, who exploited the very trust that is so rarely given in this brutal environment. It's a lesson I am learning firsthand, a harsh education in the true nature of power and the constant threat of its erosion. I begin to reconstruct the sequence of events, creating a detailed timeline of the attack, cross-referencing every digital footprint with every physical movement captured by the cameras. The picture that emerges is one of meticulous planning, of patience and precision. They didn't rush. They waited for the opportune moment, for the perfect confluence of circumstances, and then they struck with devastating efficiency. It's a testament to their skill and a terrifying indicator of their capabilities. The right-hand man reappears, a silent shadow emerging from the dimly lit corridor. He doesn't speak, simply stands there, his presence a heavy weight, his eyes fixed on my screens, then on me. I feel the familiar prickle of fear, the cold dread that accompanies his silent scrutiny. I present my findings. a concise, technical breakdown of the attack, highlighting the sophistication, the coordination, and the clear evidence of an inside operative. My voice is steady, my demeanor professional, a carefully constructed facade. He listens, his face impassive, his eyes betraying nothing. I can't tell if he's impressed, angered, or simply absorbing the information. The ambiguity is terrifying, leaving me suspended in a state of agonizing uncertainty. I emphasize the external IP address, the likely origin of the command and control, offering a tangible lead, a path forward that demonstrates my continued utility. It's a desperate gambit, a plea for continued relevance in a world where irrelevance is a death sentence. He nods, a single, almost imperceptible movement. Good, he says, his voice still low, but with a hint of something that might be approval. Trace it, find out who they are, and then we will deal with them. The words are a chilling promise of retribution, a clear indication of the path that lies ahead. My task is not over. It has only just begun. I am now fully embroiled, a digital bloodhound on the trail of unseen enemies, my life inextricably linked to the boss's vendetta. The weight of the responsibility settles on me, a heavy cloak that threatens to suffocate. I am no longer just a technician. I am an integral part of their operation, a cog in their machine of power and vengeance. The moral lines are now completely blurred, the ethical boundaries I once held so dear, shattered. I am doing their bidding, using my skills to hunt down their enemies, knowing that my own survival depends on my success, on my unwavering loyalty. I feel a strange sense of detachment, as if I am watching myself from afar, an actor in a play I never auditioned for. The man I was before this night, the quiet, meticulous tech expert, feels like a distant memory, a ghost of a former self. This new reality is harsh, brutal, and unforgiving, and I am forced to adapt, to evolve, to become something I never imagined I would be, simply to survive another day. The transformation is unsettling, a profound shift in my very being. The mansion, once a symbol of opulence, now feels like a gilded cage, a prison of my own making. I am bound by the knowledge I possess, by the tasks I have been given, by the unspoken threats that linger in the air. There is no escape, no turning back. My path is now intertwined with theirs, a dangerous dance on the precipice of an abyss, where one wrong step could send me plummeting into the darkness. The future is uncertain, fraught with peril. I continue my work, the rhythmic click of the keyboard a hypnotic soundtrack to my desperate quest for answers. Each line of code, each data packet, each encrypted message holds a piece of the puzzle, a clue to the identities of those who dared to challenge the boss. I am driven by a primal urge to survive, but also by a growing sense of morbid curiosity, a desire to understand the forces that have so violently reshaped my world. The image of the waitress, her face a mixture of terror and defiance, flashes through my mind again. I wonder if she knew the full extent of the danger she was stepping into, if she understood the brutal consequences of her actions. Was she a true believer, a revolutionary fighting against an oppressive regime, or simply a desperate soul manipulated by forces beyond her control? The answer remains elusive, lost in the chaos of the night. I find myself wishing for a moment of peace, a brief respite from the relentless pressure, the constant fear. But there is no peace in this world, only a temporary lull between storms. The boss's empire is vast, his enemies numerous, and the cycle of violence and retribution is an endless, self-perpetuating machine. I am now a part of that machine, a small but significant gear, turning relentlessly in the pursuit of vengeance. The sun begins to peek over the horizon, casting long, pale shadows across the mansion's grounds. The new day brings no comfort, only a renewed sense of urgency, a fresh reminder of the tasks that lie ahead. The world outside these walls continues its oblivious dance, unaware of the silent war being waged within, unaware of the lives irrevocably altered by a single whispered phrase. My own world has shrunk, confined to the flickering screens and the chilling reality of my new existence. I feel a profound sense of isolation, a loneliness that permeates my very being. I am surrounded by people, by the boss's men, but I am utterly alone in my knowledge, in my fear, in my desperate struggle for survival. There is no one to confide in, no one to trust, no one who truly understands the precariousness of my position. I am an island, adrift in a sea of danger. My only compass, my own wits, and my own desperate will to live. The thought of what might happen if I fail, if I cannot deliver the answers they demand, sends a cold shiver down my spine. The consequences would be swift and brutal, a grim end to a life that has been irrevocably altered. I push the thought away, focusing instead on the task at hand, on the intricate dance of data and code that holds the key to my continued existence. Failure is not an option. It is a death sentence. I find a pattern, a recurring signature in the encrypted communications, a digital fingerprint that points to a specific, highly sophisticated hacking group, known for their stealth and their ability to disappear without a trace. This is not a local rival. This is a global threat, an organization with resources that rival even the bosses. The realization is both terrifying and exhilarating, confirming the scale of the conflict I have stumbled into. The boss's right-hand man returns, his eyes scanning my screens, then settling on my face. I present my findings, the name of the hacking group, their known modus operandi, the potential implications of their involvement. My voice is steady, confident, projecting an air of authority that I don't truly feel. I am playing a role, a dangerous game of deception, hoping that my performance will be convincing enough to secure my continued survival. He listens, his face unreadable, then turns and walks away, leaving me once again in the oppressive silence of the control room. I don't know if I have succeeded, if I have bought myself more time, or if I have simply dug myself a deeper hole. The ambiguity is maddening, a constant source of anxiety that gnaws at my nerves. My fate remains uncertain, suspended in the balance, dependent on the whims of powerful men. I continue my work, driven by a desperate hope that I can find a way out of this nightmare, a path to freedom that doesn't involve a brutal end. The mansion, once a symbol of power, is now a cage, and I am trapped within its walls, a silent witness to its secrets, a reluctant participant in its brutal games. My life has been irrevocably altered, and the future remains a dark, uncertain landscape, fraught with peril and the constant threat of unseen enemies. The only thing I know for certain is that I am alive, for now, and in this world, that is a victory in itself, a small but significant triumph in the face of overwhelming odds. I will continue to fight, to adapt, to survive, using my wits and my skills to navigate the treacherous currents of this brutal reality. The whisper of a waitress, a single, desperate phrase, has shattered my world, and I am now forced to rebuild it, piece by agonizing piece, in the shadow of a looming storm.